What's going on, folks? Welcome back to your Lake Fork Guide. We changing up a little bit of the musical flavor tonight. If you don't know who this is, or you don't love this music that's playing right now, I'm not real sure that we can be very good friends. So get some brown Eco, hold it up, drink it down. Cheers, y'all. Let's get it. Somebody comment who this is before I lose my mind. Yes. There's the comments popping in. You guys drop those comments as you get it tonight. Hey, we're going to talk about Lake Fork. It showed up and showed out this week at the Big Bass Splash in a very big way. We're going to tell you guys why Lake Fork is and always will be the GOAT Lake, the greatest trophy bass fishing lake of all time that's ever existed. Nothing's ever going to change with that. What it continues to do is unbelievable. We're going to break it down in depth for you. Of course, we're going to answer all your questions as well. Yeah. Now, y'all better comment and tell me that you know who that was playing that music. Because if you don't know who that is playing that music, not real sure we can be friends. I just don't know. We're going to have to find out. We had to blow the dust off of that one. It's been that record's been sitting around for a little while. There we go. There we go. We got some of the comments. But hey, I'm glad that this audience, I figured this audience would know that musical artist very well. And as always, you guys don't ever disappoint. Y'all did know who it was. So Big Bass Splashes this weekend. I hope you guys had a great time. Cody Mays, you're now evicted from the party. You said Led Zeppelin. We might have to play some Zeppelin one of these days in the beginning of one of these deals. So I like me some Zeppelin. I'm down with Zeppelin. Oh, man. I'll tell you what. I have got the just crud going on. Something is in the air here lately. Somebody said Tupac. That's money right there, Tupac. That's greatness. But nonetheless, I may be not feeling so great with all the allergen stuff that's going on, so I apologize if I'm sniffling or snorting or pausing in my talk tonight. It's purely sinus issues, man, and I apologize for that. Probably help if I get that worm dirt out of my lip, right? All right. Let's get into this. Let's discuss what went down at the Big Bass Splash, because it was a good one, man. So we've talked about this a lot lately. We'll recap it real quick for those that didn't know. Lake Fork kind of is going through its turnover period without really turning over. We got a big rain about 3 weeks ago now, something like that, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Lake jumped up 2 feet in one day. With that rain, the lake also cooled off pretty good, and it got down to around 80 degrees, which is right around the turnover temperature when turnover usually happens. But I think with all the water that flowed into the lake, it kind of killed the real nasty parts of the turnover where the water gets real deoxygenated and all that. Because, you know, when the lake turns over, the water gets real deoxygenated, but when a whole bunch of water comes in at once, the lake gets full of oxygen. So I think that kind of balanced each other out somehow. The water did not dirty up near as much as I thought it would with the lake jumping up 2 foot in a day. We really kind of lucked out in this deal. We got the water temps to cool off. The fish did scatter and go to the bank like they always do, but they bit a little bit better than what they usually do whenever they do that. They got kind of tough to find because they got scattered out in the shallow and mid-depth water of the water column. But when you got around them and one would bite, it would bite good and eat good. So if you got around a little bit of fish, you could catch a couple here or there. And you know, this tournament's always this time of year, and quite often it falls into this turnover cycle in a tough fishing stretch. You know, arguably what a lot of people would tell you is the toughest time of year to fish is the summer to fall transition. But Lake Fork is just Lake Fork, man. And if you give it a little bit of an advantage, okay, the water didn't get deoxygenated, so the fish are a little more active than they usually are this time of year. Lake Fork gets a little bit of a good condition advantage, and man, does it show out. Now, folks, I know you're going to look at these overs that got caught in this tournament, and 7-pound overs, 6-pound overs, a couple of those were caught. you got to think about this, guys. These fish don't weigh much this time of year. A lot of them are very poor. They just came through the end of summer, especially these older fish that are over 24 inches. Man, a lot of them struggle to get through summer, and they don't get fattened back up till after they've gone through the fall period and get into that winter period. Then they'll be real thick again. But there's just not much weight on fish this time of year. I caught that 9.5 pounder the other day, and that fish was fat. It was fat, and it was pushing 25 inches long. It was between 24 and a half, 25 inches, and it was really thick and stout. And when I caught that fish, and if you've been in my boat and you've seen me weigh fish, I'm really, really, really accurate on guessing their weights. And when I pulled that fish in the boat, I was like, I think that's a 10 pounder, folks. And I did. I thought it was 10, and it only weighed 9 pounds and 7 ounces. So even when they look good and they look thick and fat and healthy, they just don't weigh as much. So I want you to consider that when you think about what happened. Here's what we need to realize. Lake Fork just kicked out 22 fish over 3 short days of fishing, really 2.5 days of fishing, because they stopped weigh-ins at 1 o'clock on this deal. 22 over 24-inch fish. You know how big a fish over 24 inches is? Y'all, I've caught several fish, or people with me have caught several fish that were under 24 inches that were over 10 pounds. So any 24-inch plus fish has the frame and the ability to be over 10 pounds. And they may not weigh that much right now because the time of year it is, and some of them may never were going to weigh that much because they just don't have the genetics for it. But most of those fish that come in that are over 24 inches either have weighed within that year or will weigh within the next year or two over 10 pounds. These are giant fish. When you catch one over 24 inches, it is an absolute monster. 22 of those got brought in. Now, that's what happened. The fish bit a little better than they probably should have for the time of year we're in because of some good luck for us. We caught the anglers caught some really, really big fish, and I'm sure people were catching them all kinds of ways. I'm sure there was a lot caught on the Texas rigs and the drop shots and the slow fishing techniques we've been talking about. But what I want you to do is I want you to go look up results from big bass tournaments at other places where there's not a slot limit. If there was that many fish caught over 24 inches, how many 22, 23, 21, 20-inch fish were caught? A 20-inch fish is going to usually weigh at least 4 or 5 pounds. Okay? Now, if there was 22 fish caught over 24 inches, how many fish were caught between 20 and 24 inches? 100? I think 100 is a realistic number. Go look up the big bass splashes that are held in much better times of year. Look up the big bass splash on Toledo Bend. Look up the big bass splash on Rayburn. Look up the Oakley big bass tournaments they used to have on Table Rock or Conroe or wherever. Conroe, they used to do theirs during pre-spawn when fish are at their heaviest. You look up any of these big bass hourly tournaments, and you go tell me where they have a 3 half-day event and they catch 125 fish over 4 or 5 pounds. And that's with them fishing the best times of year, not the turnover, summer to fall transition. The results that this lake kicks out, the fish that this lake kicks out, is unprecedented to this day. I realize it's not at its prime. And I know all the old heads that were here in the early 90s will tell me, you ain't seen nothing. Well, you're right, I haven't. But I've seen this, and this is better than anything else on planet Earth. I don't care what Bassmaster's list says. You know what? Doesn't happen on the St. Lawrence River up there in New York. They don't catch a 10-pounder every time there's an amateur hourly big bass tournament. Every time, no matter how bad the time of year is. It's a 10-pounder to win every time. Every time. It's ridiculous. It's insane what happens at this lake. I'm bragging on it. I'm proud of it. I love it. And when we have these type of events, it gives me the opportunity to brag on it. And I ain't going to pass it up because I am proud of this lake. And it is a special place. And it gets a bad rap because it does get tough to get bites. At times it's been tough lately to get bites. But even though it's been tough to get bites, look what happens when you have a big amateur level tournament when a bunch of boats get on the water. They're there, guys. That just shows you, yes, of course they caught them. There was 2,000 people out there, whatever. Okay, But what that tells me is that they're there to be caught. Just because you didn't catch them, it ain't the lake's fault. Like, they're in there. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I don't catch them all the time. It's the way it is. But this place is just unbelievable. There's nothing else like it. Nothing else like it. And the shape that it's in, with it being low, is making it set up really, really good for fall. This fall bite that we're about to experience, you know, I told you guys before summer it was going to be super good, like amazingly good when we got to summer and all those fish grouped up offshore because there was less stuff, less room for them. The schools would be bigger, blah, blah, blah. And it was. It was the most consistently, day in, day out, good summer bite that I've seen in many, many years on Lake Fork. This fall is going to be insane too. Like, there is going to be a tremendous fall fishing season on Lake Fork, and that's going to mainly entail October and November. And just let the good times roll, because we'll transition from fall to winter in that December month, and that'll be kind of like September's been. It'll be good, and there'll be some big ones called. It just will be a little harder to get the bites. By the time we get to January, we'll start rolling into that early part of pre-spawn, and it will be unbelievable as well, as long as the lake stays stable and at the level it's at now or lower. That will make it actually fish better if it even goes lower. So do not be scared of the lake being low. We have the Your Lake Fork Guide Pro Lanes that you can purchase at yourlakeforkguide.com or in person at Lake Fork Marina. That will help you navigate the lake at the current level that it's at now. There's other boat lane chips that can help you navigate through the lake as well. Do not be intimidated by that low water to come here. I understand some people have not traveled this year from talking to people throughout the year because of gas prices, okay? If that's the case, that's the case. You got to live within your means. I understand that. But if you have the means to get here and you have a curiosity or a desire to fish this lake, I highly, highly encourage you to come down here and take your chance, because I cannot describe to you guys how special this place is and what swims in it. And my best fishing day of all time happened on Lake Fork in November of 2011, when those fish start grouping back up. Some of them group up shallow, some of them group up offshore. This just happened to be a main lake point offshore oriented type of school that I found in November of 2004. But guys, I sat in one place for 4 hours, and I never went more than a few minutes without catching a fish that day. This is the first fall when we've been this low, close to the same level we were in 2011. The lake has been in great shape. It's fished tremendously throughout the summer. It's fished better than it should during the summer to fall transition, certainly more consistently than it should in the summer to fall transition. We just saw 22 overs caught this weekend. Get your butt to Lake Fork. And if you do want a guide to help you, we'll be happy to help you at yourlakeforkguide.com. You can book a trip with me. I do have a few dates left in October. I've got several dates left in November. So if you guys want to book, holler at me. We'll get you booked. If I can't get you out, Cody Mays is in the chat tonight. We can get you out with him. We can get you out with David Ozio. We can get you out with a lot of guides on Lake Fork that I know and work with that are really, really good. But you want to be fishing Lake Fork as much as you can while this water's low. I'm telling you, it's like the opposite of what everybody thinks. Low, lake's low, it's tough, dangerous. It's not really that dangerous if you're careful, and it fishes a lot easier when it's low than it does when it's full. It's easier to find them. It's just the bottom line. It's just easier to find them. They don't bite every day. There's no guarantees in this game. Never will be, never has been. I don't care what anybody says about guaranteeing fish on guide trips. Those guys don't do that for very long. I can tell you that. You never know in this sport. What I will tell you is the absolute 0 days, okay, are very few and far between. And the one guy that I know that did guarantee fish on guide trips he had a lot of stipulations, right? Like, you have to use my equipment, you have to use what I tell you to use, you have to be able to cast a bait caster, you have to fish when I tell you to fish. So if I tell you it's got to be a night fishing trip, it's got to be a night fishing trip. If I tell you we don't need to go, then we don't need to go. Like, he had a lot of stipulations on his, if you don't catch anything, you don't have to pay deal. So for us to go out every day and try our luck, because you never know, you just never know. but the odds are really good right now for good days, and it's a good time to visit the old Goat Lake. Which, what's funny is I don't even hear any arguments for it anymore. There's no disputing it. You look at what Bassmaster's done when they've come here. It's been their best tournament of the year every time they've come here. No matter what other lakes they go to, be it Santee Cooper, Gunnersville, Pickwick, it doesn't matter. The biggest wait of the year for 4 days when the Bassmaster comes to Lake Fork is always at, say it with me now, Lake Fork. When MLF comes here, they catch more double-digit bass here than they catch anywhere else. Now, they do catch higher total weights on Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour on other places where they catch more numbers of fish. But their average catch weight and their big fish catch rate is always highest when they come to Lake Fork. I think I can quit beating it over the head. You guys get the point. It's undisputed. It's like Tyson before Buster Douglas came around. Can't nobody jack with this thing, dog. Like, it's unbelievable how awesome this lake is. That being said, I'm sure halftime is pretty close to over. Let's see. I said I was going to do a halftime show, and I bet it's already the second half, which is no big deal. We'll keep going anyway. You guys asked me some questions. Somebody said, y'all going to really be in business. John Sherry said, y'all going to really be in business if the lake stays low 4 or 5 years before it fills up? Yeah. That, for over the long run, would make everything amazing. Like, that would make everything the best possible situation. Man, did Green Bay score again already? Or they did that before halftime? I don't know. I've been watching football, but not keeping up too well with it, as you can tell. Bring on the January jig bite. You know what's up, Mike Bray? Mike Bray got a couple days worth of that January jig bite. It's a lot of fun. Do we have any openings in November? Absolutely. Which, I mean, we mentioned that earlier. I don't know if you heard, if you asked that before I mentioned that, but yeah, we do have some openings. And in November. What won the tournament this past weekend? It was Big Fish Tournament, and it was a 10-pound, 10-something. What percentage of the trips that we do are from out-of-state folks? That varies, and it varies a lot on time of year. You know, of course, in the springtime, that's going to be our highest percentage of travelers. Like, people that travel from out of state, the majority of them come in the springtime, for sure. As far as what percentage, God dang, dude, I've never even thought about it. I would say, for me personally, for out of state, because out of state includes Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, which we get quite a bit of. Man, I would say it's probably 60 in-state, 40 out-of-state. Give or take 5 or 10% either way it could be. I'm not real sure on that. Can I bring my own setup? Yeah, you can bring your own rods if you want to. I'd never prohibit people from bringing their own gear. Will the fish be recovered from Big Bass Splash this last weekend? Yeah, man, I don't think that that's a big deal. Like, fish recovering from these big tournaments. This lake's had these big tournaments on it for all these years. And going out the day after, I've had bad days, but I've gone out the day after Skeeter Owners or Big Bass Splash or whatever. I've gone out some days the day after and flat called them up. Think about it like this. Those fish are sitting in that lake, and people's motors are running over the top of their head nonstop, and across the whole lake. And you guys know how noise conducts underwater. Every fish in that lake can hear boat motors nonstop for 3 days. And then all of a sudden on Monday morning, it's quiet. They probably feel a lot more comfortable and start acting right, you know? So, I mean, I've had some really good days the day after some of these big tournaments. And I think maybe that has something to do with it, the fact that for them, the lake quiets down so much all of a sudden. What is the thick-stemmed 7 to 9 foot tall stuff growing on the bank and out further? I don't know what that stuff's called. Somebody said some kind of river hemp or something like that. It's in like the marijuana family, apparently, is what somebody told me. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but there is a stretch of bank I've been fishing where like those weeds are like 5 foot above the full pool water level. Like these bushes are going to be sticking out of the water 4 or 5 foot when the lake gets full. It's pretty wild looking. Weeds, yeah, they did weeds. Yeah, I don't, man. I'd be the last guy to know anything about marijuana. Nothing against anybody that's your deal. Whatever, man. I don't judge people for any of that, but it's just never been my thing. I don't know much about any kind of. I don't even know, other than seeing the pictures of leaves on T-shirts and logos. I have no idea what a marijuana plant even looks like. Well, not too many questions coming in. If you guys hurry up and ask a question real quick, I'll answer. Otherwise, I'm going to turn this thing off. I'm going to go back to watching the football game. And I'm going to wish y'all the best of luck. And we will have some videos. Somebody asked me to do a series of videos that we're going to do this week. We're going to start doing this week. It's basically going to be top 5 baits in a certain category. So my top 5 shallow crankbaits, or my top 5 jigs, or my top 5 topwaters. Or, we're going to do things like that. So, of course, now, as everybody knows, completely non-obligated contractually to any bait company. So I can show you guys all the top secret stuff that I've been using for years that we didn't really talk about because I was sponsored by somebody else and I was kind of contractually obligated not to talk about it. Well, now we can start talking about it. So, is topwater the deal, shallow or chatterbait or swim jig, depending on the sun? Man, I've been having to slow down to catch them. I've been Texas rig, drop shot, wacky worm, and fool here lately. I keep thinking, and what usually happens is that little small quarter-ounce lipless crankbait and a little small spinnerbait are usually the first moving bait. They'll start biting after they come out of that funky transition phase. But for me, they haven't really started biting yet. It's been all about those slow baits for me. Sasbania, something I can't spell or say, is what the big toss those. Okay, Sasbania or something. I don't know. Small grass lake filled, small grass filled lake with water features and 3-foot clarity, fall transition. What are you throwing from the bank? If it's like right now, fall transition, same thing I've been saying. Small Texas rig, drop shot, and a wacky worm. Coming up soon, small grass field, probably that little lipless crankbait and that spinner. Same stuff. Same stuff works everywhere, really. Flat-sided crankbaits or chatterbaits? Not right now. Not right now. Flat-sided crankbaits are more of a pre-spawn wintertime deal for me. Chatterbait, though, is coming. You'll be able to get some fall chatterbait bite here pretty soon, just not quite yet. My opinion. Thank you very much. John Denny said he caught some on the small spinnerbait this weekend. Well, I didn't fish this weekend, guys. That tournament going on, and I got football stuff with the boys and all that. So I didn't fish this weekend, but that does not surprise me to hear that, and I appreciate the heads up because I have it tied on and intend to throw it tomorrow. What's up with the new rods, and did you give up on a chip for garment? Yeah, we pretty much given up on a chip for garment. That's true. New rods are coming. Our delay is on. All it is the decals. We got to wait on the decals to put on the rods. We've got a few of the rods built. These are going to be made in very small batch. Production will be limited. Production, we'll take your order, but it may be a little while before we get the next rod to you because we're making these kind of one at a time, and we're offering a custom option. So some of the order to build to delivery rate will be a little bit slower on these because we're doing them one at a time, all American made, everything. American made blanks. They're assembled right here at Lake Fork. It's the real deal, but it will be a little bit time consuming. Right now we're waiting to get a good solid batch of decals designed and done up so that we can have your rods looking clean as a whistle. And as soon as we get those, we're going to start opening it up for orders. All right, fellas, I'm going to go ahead and get on back to this football game, man. Look for those videos this week. I'll try to do my live streams. I've been trying to get to them. I just haven't gotten to all of them. Tuesday on Facebook, we should be able to do that one. Tackle Talk Tuesday on Facebook. Y'all know the deal there. If you don't, go follow Billy Lawson, Lake Fork Guide, or Your Lake Fork Guide on Facebook, and we'll go live there on Tuesday, usually around 8:30ish. Thursday, we should be back live here. And, of course, Monday and Wednesday, we'll have some top 5 bait category videos that one of you guys was asking for. We're going to try some of those this week, and we should have some on the water videos coming up as well, and I'm going out to film some of those this week, so maybe next week on the water fishing videos. Other than that, man, Love every one of you guys. Thank you so much for everything you do. Holler at us at Your Lake Fork Guide to book those trips, and we'll continue to do everything we can to help you guys catch more and bigger fish in every way we can. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you next time right here on Your Lake Fork Guide. And don't forget, cheers, y'all.